Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Crisp, the podcast. I am Matthew Farromby, and I'm here with my dad.
Sunny Farombi.
And yeah, let's just get right into it. It looks like the first thing I'm seeing here is about workations as a trend, I guess.
Yeah, I found out about that a couple of weeks ago that workations is becoming a huge trend where people are going on vacations and they are working during the vacation time. And it's actually funny to me because that's not really new.
Right,
I think
yeah.
for years.
I think it's more so since the growing of remote work that it's been more popular.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess so. Because I know that for years, for a long time, people go on vacations and they carry their laptops with them. They carry their phone since the advent of even BlackBerry before the smartphone came. And people can respond to emails and do some work. So it looks like we just coined the frame to slap onto it, workations, where people will take time off and they'll be working. So I'm just wondering. So I wanted to ask you. So for example, if your company allows it, or if your job situation allows it, is that something you would like to do, or will you just prefer to have a complete clean break when you're on vacation?
Well, I mean, from what at least the article I was looking at that you posted here, it's more so they're not taking PTO, right? They're just traveling, and then they're still working, or is it like a hybrid type of thing?
No, I think the one you're describing is what they call a digital nomad. A digital nomad, I think the rise that actually came around during COVID, where people can travel to different places and still work. Because their work is fully remote, they don't have to be in a particular place, so people can actually travel and work. Those ones are working full time.
Okay.
So workations are situations where people are combining work with vacations.
Got it. So I mean, my thing is, if I'm using PTO, then I'm not gonna work. So I mean, on special occasions or special cases where like maybe I need to hop on and something urgent might come up, sure, I could be willing maybe to help out. But if I'm specifically dedicating time to vacation, I'm not going to be planning on working. Only if it's a situation where, like I said, you're using the flexibility of remote work to be able to just travel. Yeah. So like having that as maybe like an extra kind of vacation in quotes, just so you can be in a different location, and after you get off work or even maybe during lunch, you can still like sightsee and things like that. So if I'm working full time, being able to be somewhere else would be nice. But if I'm actually taking vacation, I'm not gonna. I don't think I would like to be working especially if I'm using PTO. Like
if you are using your PTOs. But okay, here is another throwing another wrinkle into the mix. What if you have unlimited PTO, where you can take as much as you want anyway? So would you consider workations?
No, well, I mean, I actually had my previous job. I had unlimited PTO and I worked remote. So I think it'd still be the same thing. If I'm taking PTO, I'm not planning on working because I'm setting that aside for something else, or planning on being somewhere, planning on doing other things. So whether or not I'm remote or not, if I'm taking vacation, I'd rather be on vacation, even if it's unlimited.
Well, for me, I don't honestly, I don't know how I feel about it, because I think, and you probably know this, I probably was one of those people who are guilty of occasionally working on vacation when you go and for years it's not like we took a lot of vacations. I think occasionally we went, but it wasn't a regular thing. And usually I will have my laptop with me, and I may be able to respond to emails or do some work maybe very early in the morning before everybody wakes up, or late at night, things like that. So with that, I don't know if this idea of a workcation is more of a hybrid vacation half of the day and working half of the day.
And I get that, because that's something where it's like, if you bring your laptop or you check your email, if something comes up, there's the natural inclination to like, oh, I need to figure this out, especially if you have time. But I feel like if the expectation is that while you're on vacation, you need to be responsive as much as when you're working, that's when the issue is, I think.
Yeah, I think that would be a problem. That would be a problem. If the issue of being how responsive you are to requests and things like that, if it comes into play, I think that would be a different thing. So I guess that's why that's kind of different from what we were describing earlier, which I think they call a digital nomad. Nomads are people who just move around. So if your work is completely remote, I guess it doesn't matter where you are. You can, as long as you have online access, you can always work remotely. And it looks like some people are actually doing that, but I think they are doing that on their own dime, because they are paying to move and rent. Maybe they are saying Airbnb or in hotels. Hotel.
Yeah, I mean, I had one of my old coworkers at my other company I worked for. Almost every week or two, he was in a different place since everyone was remote, and we had like meetings at least twice a week. So you'd see on Zoom, if he didn't like have a custom background, we'd be like, "Oh, where are you this week?" So he'd be just traveling a lot. And he also, I think, had friend or family who were like flight attendants. So he said he got to like fly either for free or cheap. So I mean, it made more sense for him just to like travel.
Yeah, but yeah, I would think so. I would think so. If you have access to free flights and who knows, maybe free. I don't think free hotels or free Airbnb, but but anyway, I just thought we'll talk about that and see. So maybe for our listeners, if you can drop us one or two comments to respond to what will you do? Will you be like Matthew says? If I'm on vacation, I'm taking PTO, I'm making a clean break, or will you consider what they are calling a workcation? Or maybe the digital nomad, whichever one it is.
And I could also see it if it's like a secondary vacation. Like I have the main vacation that I'm completely cut off, but I want to maybe take another trip. Having that, being able to work, I could see that as a possibility too. But
yeah. Okay. Well, I guess that's a teaser. The main thing we really want to talk about today is about having what they call an abundance mindset or a scarcity mindset. I don't know. Have you had those terms before? What do you think they are?
Yeah, I think it's basically just about optimism is what the first word that comes to mind.
Okay.
Another way of saying it is like people see the glass half full or half empty. So it's basically just perspective, I guess, when I think of that.
Yeah. I will agree with you. And it looks like, at least for me, there are some behaviors that I have seen that brings the concept of either having a scarcity mindset and an abundance mindset. Brings it to mind for me. And one of the ones I've seen recently is about whether you choose to share knowledge that you have or to hoard the knowledge and just hold it in. And it's kind of interesting to me. I know, they say knowledge is power.
Right.
So some people think if they have knowledge that other people do not have, they have some kind of power or leverage over those people. But it's it sounds ridiculous to me, and it seems like it almost seems to me like there's a lot of downside to doing that, to withholding information, especially if you need or you have to share the information. If you don't have to share it, it's not a big deal. So it's like me knowing something that you don't know, and I'm thinking, okay, I don't want to share it with you, just not for any particular reason, because we may not be competitors, for example, or even if we are competitors, and that's the thing. Maybe if you are in competition with the other person, maybe you want to have that competitive advantage, so you don't want to share whatever you know. I can understand that, but for information that you can easily share, with others. So what do you think will make someone not to want to share information like that?
I mean, the main situation I think of would be like in the workplace with other coworkers, which just comes to mind like job security. People will be like, "Oh yeah, since I know this, I don't want to share it with too many other people, so I'll be the go-to person for this. So they need to keep me, or so I won't be able to get fired." That's really the only main thing that I could see that'd be somewhat of a positive reason why you do that. Something like that.
You think that's positive though?
I mean, it's only it's positive in the way you look at it, but I mean, there's always upsides and downsides. Obviously, the upside is like in their mind, it's like I said, job security. It's keeping. If there's a risk of them losing their job, since they have the knowledge in certain areas, they still will be able to keep that security in a sense, I guess. That's really the only thing that comes to mind.
Yeah, to me, actually, that actually seems like someone, who isn't secure to begin with. They are not secure to begin with, but they are trying to, for lack of a better term, buy that security. They are buying that security by holding information, by withholding information about what they know, because like you said, if they think they're the only ones who know this thing, then their company is dependent on them.
Right.
But what I don't think, and I think it was a couple of episodes back when we were talking about the guy that resigned and the boss refused to accept the resignation.
That would be as of, I think, last episode.
Okay, that's the opposite of this, because this guy, from that one, I think the guy said he has documentation, he's sharing all the information. He did his
best to make sure.
Yeah, he did his best to do that. The company is saying, no, we want you to come back. So here we are not talking about somebody who is intentionally withholding information, not sharing information, not documenting what they know, so that they will be the go-to person. They will be the expert. Now, my question is, and I don't pray that this happens to anyone, what if that guy gets hit by a bus tomorrow and doesn't make it?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's something the company has to deal with. It's not, at that point, it's not his issue.
Well, I understand, and you're right. It's not his issue; it's the company's issue. That's one. And I think he even says, in my mind, he says something about the organization where one person has a lot of the knowledge and they have not find a way to get that information out of their head and put it somewhere where a lot of other people can have access to it. So that's different thing. There must be something about the culture of that kind of organization. But if somebody suddenly is not available, like I said, gets hit by the bus or something, and you are not able to come, do those people now think that will be the end of the company? Because I use that extreme example just to say this. Let's say they didn't get hit by a bus. They are trying to withhold information so they can keep their job. They have job security.
Right.
So don't they think that the company can decide, you know what? We don't want you. We don't want your attitude. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out and we'll let you go. And then, yes, they know it will be painful for them, but instead of putting up with the attitude, they can do that. Now, I would think somebody will at least think that way, maybe as a backup to say, okay, in case I do this, what if this backfires and they actually let me go?
Right.
The extreme of it is what I'm talking about. Somebody gets hit by a bus. Yes. It's not that person's problem anymore. It's the company's problem. So whether you get hit by a bus or something, I don't think the company is just going to fold just because you are not there. I think they will have a way to, if they have to reverse engineer, rebuild something, whatever it is, to be able to get back. It may take them a while. I think they will, and I think it seems to me that people with scarcity mindset don't think that way. So that's one of the things I see concerning I think it's just, in my mind, it's it's kind of a foolishness.
Yeah,
to
and I
hold
think
on to
you kind of
information
mentioned
like
it before, but the culture of the company definitely comes into play with either fueling or taking away from that type of mindset. Because someone with that type of mindset sometimes will use that as an excuse to maybe not even do adequate work or have a poor attitude, but they're like, well, I have all the knowledge, so they can't get rid of me.
Yeah.
So like you said, a good company would either be like, hey, you need to like do your work or do better, or we're gonna cut you off and get by without you and figure it out from there. So I think the culture definitely has a impact on that mindset for sure.
Yeah, well, this is how it impacts organizations, and we'll come back a little bit to it. But what about smaller businesses or individual owners of businesses who provide services, for example? So, for example, for me as a speaker and as a coach, I have clients, I speak to organizations, I do seminars and things for them. There was a time when I was doing public seminars around the country for this big company, big organization, as just contractors to teach seminars for them.
Right.
And I wasn't the only one. They have other facilitators, other instructors. And some of us teach the same topic because somebody may be available, another person may not be available. So they have more than one person teaching the same topic. And there was a scenario during COVID, when COVID happened and we had to move to virtual, to Zoom, instead of doing it in person.
Right.
And what they began to do at that time was to have two instructors who teach the same topic. The other one, there will be a main one, and the other one will be there as a backup. So in case there's interconnectivity issues, technology problems, your computer froze or your internet goes out or something, so that you're not going to leave the hundreds of people on the seminar hanging.
Yeah, because these are all people who are like paying.
Yeah, they are paying. They are paying for the class. So they will have it so that there are two instructors. One is the main one that does most of the work. Most of the time, that's what happens. Occasionally, you pull the second person in. So, but this other person also, next week, that person may be the main instructor and you may be the backup for that person. So it depends. But anyway, one of the time when in my emotional intelligence course, and the schedule and the agenda was determined by the company, the structure of it, the content, the printed workbooks. So if you are teaching the class, the content is the same. Kind of. So they also give you the slides to use. But here's the thing. The slides that they give you, most times each instructor customize it because we all use our own experiences, our own stories. So you can add to the slides based on your personal content that you are adding to it. We all present it a different way.
Right.
Now, I'm sharing all of this because one time during the time of COVID, I had somebody who was the backup instructor who teaches the same topic. And at the end, when we finished, the first day when we finished the class, she called me and said, said, Sonny, I really like what you did with the slides, some of the stories you told, and some of the things you added. Can I have a copy of your slide deck? Now, somebody with the scarcity mindset will say, I'm not sharing my slides with you. Now, the base slide that the company share with everyone is the same. But like I said, mine looks completely different because I've made a lot of changes to it. I've infused a lot of things to it. And this person said, oh, I like it. Can you share with me? And that was the first thing, actually, to be honest with you. That I had that thought that, this is mine. I customize it for myself. But then almost immediately I thought, you know what? There's no harm in sharing.
Right.
In sharing, because the stories I told, guess what? They are my stories. They are my stories. They are the experiences I have. So if she wants to use it, maybe she will want to use the examples I have, to find stories from her own experience to be able to do the same thing, which was what I think it did. Now, then I was sharing this with somebody later. I won't say who. Well, Not I have nobody. Not that a lot of people will know who it is. But one day I was sharing this with somebody, and I said, "So no, this person asked me to share my slides with them." The person said, "No, don't share with them." I said, "Why?" I said, "Because no, they're going to use your slides, as their own." I said, "Well, it doesn't matter to me, because once again, the content, the stories, and everything that I tell is mine."
Right.
Even if they try to tell the story as if it happened to them, it's not going to be the same.
Yeah,
it's not going to be the same. So, for me, just sharing what I know, I think, and I've seen that a lot in sharing what you know, even when you think, I don't think, when you feel they shouldn't have it, or they should create their own stories and things like that. Sharing that, I think, is an example of having an abundance mindset, because sharing my story or sharing the slide deck with the person doesn't remove anything from me.
Right.
It does not. It does not, because, like I said, we kind of deliver content for the same company, so it won't take away from me if I share with them.
Yeah, and the only thing I think of, because I like to think of like the other side, so the scarcity mindset too. So something that came to mind of someone who has that type of mindset would be that's almost not exactly relating in your situation, but similar. It's like almost giving them the easier way out. It's like, well, I put the work in to make these slides and customize them and make this. It's like, if I just give it to them, that's making it way easier for them when I'm the one that did all the hard work. So I could definitely see that side of things in a sense, but it's still, I would say, just being selfish and not wanting to, especially if you work for the same company, and when you improve, everyone improves. It's more so just being more of an overall detriment to everyone.
Yeah, and I think people do that. People who have the scarcity mindset tend to do that because they are seeing everyone as competition. You are a competition, even when technically those people are not competition. Like the example I gave, that person was not in any direct competition with me. We teach the same class for the same organization, but our availabilities may be different. They will schedule you according to how you say I'm available to do it. So sharing with them does not really compete with me. At least that's the way I say it. But like I said, the person I was sharing it with later thought it was they are kind of a competition. And in my mind, that is what I see, the difference I see with people with scarcity mindset compared to those who has abundance mindset. What happens? What happens when we hold knowledge like that, or when we withhold knowledge, when we don't share?
Choose not to share.
Yeah. What are the things that happen?
If that's consistent, people are going to choose not to share their knowledge with you too.
Also, exactly.
So you're going to get the other receiving end of that.
Yeah.
So you're not going to learn as much.
You're not going to learn. You're not going to grow.
Especially if you're in the room with like other people. Are, oh well, so and so is always withholding stuff. Maybe they'll share with like other people.
Yeah.
But you specifically, they're not going to be willing to be open about certain things because they know that even if they share with you, maybe you're just going to be like take it as your own and be like, oh well, I know this, and then something like that. So.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. There will be no learning because. One of the things I've found out, I've learned, especially in corporate organizations, working with teams for decades, is that when there is a cross-pollination of ideas, when you share an idea and I think about that idea and I add my own view, my own perspectives to it, as we discuss it, that original idea becomes better.
Right.
It becomes better, and we lose that. You lose that when somebody thinks, okay, this is just my idea. I keep it to myself. They don't share with other people, not realizing that the idea that you have that you think is great, guess what? It's only about maybe 27% good.
Right.
It could be better. Yeah. It could be better when you share it with others and they begin to bring other perspectives that you do not see. Because, sometimes we think we know everything, we see everything very well, but more often than not, we don't. We see from our own limited view, from our own eyesight, and there are other parts of the thing that we don't see. If we don't share with other people, then we will not be able to take advantage of bringing their perspectives and bringing their ideas, mixing it with the original idea, and finding something much more better. So,
right. Yeah, it's definitely more a sense of pride if you're just not willing to share anything. And then I think going back to like if you're in a meeting sense and you do share or be like, you want to be the person that came up with the idea, and then someone else maybe builds on that to make a better idea. That might, for you, if you have that type of mindset, create some animosity, because you're going to be like, well, I came up with this idea and this person had maybe a better version of it. You're going to be like, well, I'm just going to even withhold even more. I don't know. It's one of those things where like, well, when people are around, I'll just maybe go to the boss one-on-one and share, so there's no one else who can make a better version or so. That's just me kind of thinking out loud.
No, I see what you're saying. And honestly, if something like that happens in a place, in a workplace, an organization, I am thinking, once again, we talked about this earlier, it says a lot about the culture of the place. Because if you create a culture, an environment where ideas can be brought in, incubated by everybody, grown, and everybody adds to it, and everybody sees that it's not like one person gets the credit.
Right.
If the credit is shared, it doesn't matter whether the idea originated from someone or is made better by somebody else or is implemented by another person. The fact that we all work together as a team to bring these ideas together, to think through it, to incubate them, to grow the idea, and to make it something that all of us can be proud of, that say, okay, we definitely do this.
Right.
So once again, I think it says a lot about the culture of the place. If people are thinking that, I don't want to bring an idea and then somebody runs with it, makes it better, and then I'm left behind or something.
And I could definitely see how sometimes your mind could go there a little bit, just because in the workplace, I mean, a lot of things are based on performance with like raises and bonuses. So you could be like, well, I want to be properly compensated for my work or for ideas. So I could kind of see how that thought could kind of come in.
Yeah.
But when you realize if you're working for a company, like if that company ceases to exist or goes down, like everyone's gone.
No, yeah, that's true. That's true.
Making sure the company benefits also benefits you.
Definitely. And it leads to another point, which I was going to make, is about when you withhold information like that in the workplace from people who need it, or you're not sharing what you know, it can lead those other people to make mistakes, costly errors or mistakes that could actually impact the whole organization and also impact you, who has been withholding that information. Because maybe if you have shared that information with them, they will have a better perspective with something that they are doing, and they will not have made that mistake.
Right.
But if you don't share it, they make the mistake, and guess what? You may end up losing your job.
Yeah.
Because if the mistake is so huge that it impacts everyone, even if it's not traced back to you. First of all, for some companies, they may be able to trace it back to you that, okay, you are the one that withheld information. You're out of here anyway. And so that could be a downside. But even if they don't do that, if that does not happen, if they don't identify you as the one withholding information, the fact that you withheld the information, it led to costly errors by somebody else. And that error is so huge that it's affecting the organization. You and other people may end up losing your jobs anyway.
Yeah, and then I said, on the extreme side, the company in a culture that's so bad that everyone is like withholding information. It's like, oh well, they got to learn to let them fail or something. If there's a culture like that, that company is eventually going to cease to exist. Probably
it will. It will. Because another thing that will come from there is if somebody has that kind of attitude about. You mentioned something about, okay, it's my ideas, I want to be compensated for it. Once again, it breeds this competition with people, and before you know it, there will be lower levels of employee engagement, low levels of employee satisfaction. People will not be happy working there, especially if everybody is doing it to everybody else.
Yeah.
Or you become a castaway, because if you are the only one doing it and everybody is working together, they will see you as somebody who does not belong there.
Who's not a team player.
Who's not a team player, who doesn't work well with others. So those are the kind of things that, when we have this scarcity mindset, where we are not sharing information, where we are thinking things is better just with us. It's just an idea that says you're always looking at the negative side of things. It goes back to what you said earlier about optimism.
Perspective,
Yeah, looking at the negative side of things, and that's pessimism. That's what people with scarcity mindset. That's what they are thinking. They are thinking, I need to take care of me. I need to watch after my own stuff, and I'm not going to share what I have, because guess what? I don't want anyone to take what's mine.
And I definitely get like healthy competition. So if you're working together, like, you came up with this idea, I'm going to see if we can find a better way to do it, and just building off of each other. That's still like working together. So it's not hoarding anything, but it's still a healthier sense of working together in that sense.
Yeah.
So,
well, I hope I think that's our topic for today. I hope that it stimulates something in your mind, in your thinking, and as I asked earlier, for comments, you can also drop us a few comments about this one. What do you think about people with scarcity mindset or abundance mindset? Have you encountered people with like that? What stories you have and things like that? So.
And it's also sometimes one of those things that until you're in the moment, you might not know what type of person you are too.
That's
so
true.
It's like it takes being intentional. Like, okay, when I get here, am I the type of person that's leans towards like not sharing just because I, like I said before, that job security and those kind of thoughts come in, or am I one that's always willing to share? I think there's kind of a balance of both, because obviously you want to always make sure everything you're doing is documented and stuff, but I think sometimes you don't want people to, I guess in a sense, steal your idea if you like share it with someone and they're like the first person to go to the boss or upper leadership and take credit for it. So that thought just came to my mind. I could see how that could affect someone's ability to just share things.
Yeah, well, and I agree with you.
So.
But like I said before, or like we discussed before, it still goes back to the culture of the place.
Right.
If the culture is one that breeds competition between people, that does not breed collaboration, that's what will happen. That's why you will share your idea with me, and I will go quickly tell the boss and say it's my idea or something like that.
Yeah.
The company or the environment will have been a breeding ground for those kind of behaviors, for that to happen. If it's not a breeding ground for that kind of behavior, quickly, if a new person comes in and exhibits those kind of behavior, people will quickly recognize it and be able to deal with it and say, we don't do that here. We work together, we collaborate. So, yeah.
All right. Anything else we wanted to touch on then?
No, I don't think. I think we've covered most of it. Like I said before, drop us a couple of comments and let's see what you think. And especially what Maddie was saying moments ago about asking this question of ourselves, because most of us will think, I'm the good person. I would be on the abundance mindset side. But when you really think about it, when you are in this situation, what do you think you will do? Yeah.
Well, guys, this has been another episode of Crisp, the podcast. Make sure to rate and give us a review on Apple and Spotify. Leave us a comment on YouTube. And we'll see you guys next time.
See you next time.